But there is kind of a thought process that goes behind it, which leads me to the next thing with consistency that I think needs to tie in with it is strategy. Right. I do think that, pushing yourself out of there and doing it every day is amazing. But at some point, you got to take a step back and go, okay, what's the bigger picture goal here? And what do I need to change and tweak in these consistent posts to do better? Right. And if we went step back and looked at our strategy as a whole, and maybe been chasing down a big video or chasing down virality, or really going as a whole, what are we doing on social media, right? Me and my wife take a step back all the time and go, what are we going to sell and what are we doing now that's going to get us to that point?
Like and I've heard the same point too, coming from different social media influencers like a Gary Vee, that'll be like, don't worry about having the best camera, don't worry about it, just bring your phone camera out and just start recording. Like how much has your professional level or like your professional production value, how much do you think that's added to your noticeability, if that makes sense? Do you think just because it's better, or do you think it's been more so strategy?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question now. And I don't know, I would argue almost that stuff is going higher quality, right? I've heard even some smart people talk about too, that everything is kind of moving in that direction. It's also partially because iPhones are getting like insane now. And then information is so more readily available, and people want to separate themselves. But yeah, as a whole, it's kind of funny because in the beginning, when we first got going with my wife, we did not grow very quickly. It was a very slow process. It didn't feel like people were taking to that style of content very well. So at the time, this is two years ago or so, I feel like the high quality, she even was doing some iPhone stuff of like TikTok style funny videos. And a lot of times that was doing better. Right. So to me, it was more about, we need to just separate ourselves. Right. So I do think that there is a lot of, I love high quality. It's something I enjoy watching. I know the consumer, a lot of times, they don't really care as long as the information is given correctly and they're able to understand and take it in well. So I do think that, of course, there is things like audio quality where if you can't hear, it doesn't matter. You're not doing anything. But yeah, I do feel like, for what we did, even in the space now, there's people catching up and doing high quality. And I don't want to act like we're the leaders of it, but when I jumped in, I maybe saw one or two other HD videos and I was scouring the space, right? Because we were also in the beginning trying to make connections and make friends and get people to follow back. So that's going in and commenting on everybody, liking other, and also kind of seeing what other people are doing. But I do think now it's what separates us, right? Yeah. I do believe we could probably do really well if we did very similar style content and with an iPhone, and I still shot it nicely. So it's easy to watch, because if it is all dark and shadows all crazy, it's not easy to watch for a consumer. So I do believe it could do well. Maybe I'm just going to be stubborn and just say, no, nothing can ever come close to what I do, because I spent all this money on equipment and I'm not going to let it go. Right now, you're the same. Totally. But yeah, I do think that whatever it is, I think it's separating yourself in the space, right? I do believe quality also is not just HD, but just quality in general. Is it quality information? Is the video just enjoying and produce it? Is it, are you walking away feeling like you learned something, you laughed, or you cried, right? If you're getting one of those emotions, then the video was quality, right? If it stops to scroll, essentially, it's quality, right?
Let me Chris, something that you're on heavy, talking to you regularly, and also something that the Blaptist is about is consistency. You know what I mean? Don is on live every single morning and has been, or day. He doesn't let the day pass without going live for like the last I don't know. It seems like it's been at least 2 months now. It could be longer than that. But can either of y'all speak to just the power of consistency and how that can take you anywhere? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And like,
Don, I'd like to hear kind of how you feel after going consistently for this long in a space that was so new and, a new world when you first jumped on doing it.
Man, it still seems new to me every time I get on, like, because I still find myself even like moments before I go ahead and press that button to go live, like, okay, what am I doing? You know what I mean? But what's driving me is literally the consistency. Is like, man, okay, what am I here to do? Okay, my purpose is to just say something encouraging to somebody, right?
Mm.
No matter who it is. I'm not, and I try not to just anticipate who it is, but more so just focus on the fact that my purpose is to encourage somebody and to make sure that I'm consistent with it. And so, and at the same time, it's causing me to exercise something that I normally wouldn't do, because my weakness is I don't like being in front of the camera. I don't like, what I'm saying. I'm not somebody who craves the attention. You know what I'm saying? I'd much rather be, do something and then present it later, not even be live on anything. You know what I'm saying? So um, for me, it's been a struggle. It's not so much a struggle anymore, because I've like you said, I've been doing it consistently for months now, and so now I've kind of like gotten over myself. I've gotten out of my head, and it's just about the fact of, okay, it's not about you, it's about whoever this needs to get to. And so that's been the main thing, man. What I've been finding on the other side of consistency is that, I've been getting feedback. I've been getting people that have been like, man, thank you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know how much that word that you spoke today meant to me. Like, I really needed to hear that. And so even if it's just one person that gets that, it's been great, man. And it's been just a blessing to know that just my obedience, you know what I'm saying? Because you never know whose destiny is tied to your obedience, right? To you, it might not make sense, but again, God's ways are not our ways. You know what I'm saying? His thoughts are higher than ours. And so what seems insignificant to us really can make the difference, all the difference to somebody else.
mm,
Yeah, I think speaking on that, one of the really important pieces of consistency that I think people look over, because our consistency is kind of, we tie it to it working, right? When I'm consistent, whatever I'm going to do is going to work, which I do believe. But I think the consistency also is just that it pushes you out of your comfort zone, right? I know we're in a lot of times where we wanted to be so consistent that we had to put out things that we might have been getting in our head about, right? So you being consistent also pushed you out of your comfort zone, which when it comes to, if we're talking about marketing online, is one of the most important pieces, because the reason why people don't get on TikTok, they're afraid, they feel uncomfortable, right? And they also know they're going to have to do it every single day. To do it well on TikTok, you got to do it twice a day, right? So getting and being consistent and putting your brain to that point of like, I have to get this out. If it's a live, if it's a TikTok, I have to go do something that I'm going to feel uncomfortable with, and push me out of my comfort zone and do it, right? And I think that's why the consistency usually is the number one factor in it working with people, because you can't consistently halfway put something out, right? You can't really
Right.
do
Right.
this every day and barely do it, or else I'm not going to do it, right? So as soon as you start doing it every day, you're going to get better, and what you're putting out is going to get better over time, right? So the consistency, I think people sometimes they just think, oh, I'll take 18 pictures and now I have a picture of a day for 18 days, right? That's not really consistency, right? You're just planning everything out, just throwing it all out there. It is consistency, I guess. I don't want to like really take that away, but there is kind of a thought process that goes behind it, which leads me to the next thing with consistency that I think needs to tie in with it is strategy, right? I do think that pushing yourself out of there and doing it every day is amazing, but at some point you got to take a step back and go, okay, what's the bigger picture goal here, and what do I need to change and tweak in these consistent posts to do better, right? And if
Right.
we went stepped back and looked at our strategy as a whole, and maybe been chasing down a big video or chasing down virality, or really going as a whole, what are we doing on social media, right? Me and my wife take a step back all the time and go, what are we going to sell and what are we doing now that's going to get us to that point, right? Or if we want to help people, what is the best way to do that, right? Is it viral post? Is it running ads? Is it whatever all these things where you got to take a step back and go, okay, what's the strategy here? And not just putting out a piece of content every day to put it out, right? For a while, for the wife and I, was to get people into the spa she was working at, to book a service with her. So our content was very tailored, and we really cut off a huge audience because we were looking for more locals, right? We'd probably put a post every couple days that could reach the US, that everybody can enjoy. But for the most part, a lot of it was come see me at this spa in this city, right? So as soon as you're not from there, you're not going to go follow that person and try to jump in, right? And now we took a step back and go, okay, there's a lot of money online, right? We got to reach everybody. And recently, with the reach we've gotten, we've realized it's across the world, right? For some reason, there's a huge skincare base in India. People love skin. I know India is so huge. I know they're into everything there. But realizing there's a market out there, right? There's money to be made there because they're interested. They want to learn. They want that information. So it takes us taking a step back and look at the strategy and go, if we want that market, what do we need to be doing, right? Should we put in captions on the video, right? So people can read it. If they don't speak English, maybe they can read English, right? So there's all those things that kind of come in with that, consistency.
I got a quick question, bro, because like it'd be one thing if you were like seriously obsessed with the marketing and the game and everything. What is your marketing background? Did you like legit work in marketing, or did you just become ultra obsessed?
Yeah. So really, the obsession started with social media, just because I thought it was so cool. I thought it was so cool that you can reach that many people. And I remember when I first got on Instagram when I was in high school, and I remember that back in the day, hashtags were really, really important. That was how you found people. And I remember I was the first one of my friends that had 100 likes on a picture, which on the time on Instagram, like nobody knew somebody with 100 likes. It's because I obsessed over liking other people in hashtags and knowing they're going to come back and like a picture, right? And I didn't know at the time because I was young. There's a lot of kind of things in my life that I realized later. But it was just that obsession with, wow, we can reach so many people. This is insane, right? And then having friends in music and going, okay, how do I get that music heard, right? How do I get new people to listen to this music that I think is just so good and everybody needs to hear it? And the only way to do it at the time for me as a kid with no money was social media, right? Was to go on Instagram and I post a song of a friend and I go through hashtag rap and I like every single picture and people are coming back and watching that video and then going to my friend who made rap music. But yeah, as far as marketing, I did work for kind of a startup marketing company that I helped start last year. And that really pushed me out to learn more, but that was more general marketing, not so much social media, but using that general marketing information with SEO, running ads, all ties into how to better perform organically, which is, to me, that's my favorite. I just love organic. Like, how can we do this? Maybe because I've always never had a ton of money, never had investors, never had $5,000 a month for Facebook ads. It's like, we got to figure this out because we ain't running ads, right? Like, we don't got a family budget to run some ads. But yeah, so I guess it's obsession. I was trying to really dodge around, you saying I'm obsessed. I might be obsessed. I love it. I do love it.
Hey, so bro, we speak to like the importance of providing value. Like I'm still stuck. I'm selling a product, and getting on social media is still a challenge for me. Being consistent is still challenging for me. But the fact that you've grown the follower base that you have, and you've been as consistent as you are, and you're not selling anything, I think goes to show the power of providing like quality content, but value for other people. Can you speak to that and how that plays a role in your strategy?
Yeah, so when we were directing more traffic to the med spa, even then, there was, to me, I always go, why would somebody follow you? right? And it kind of goes back to what I said. You want to make people feel some emotion. And if you make them feel an emotion, it's sometimes if they learn something, you don't know what emotion that'd be, intrigued, right? You make them laugh, you make them sad, or you make them happy, they're going to want to follow the journey. So to me, that, with Victoria in the beginning, we tried some humor for a little while and realized like, okay, that just wasn't organic for her, right? She couldn't pick up a phone and do something funny, right? So we realized, okay, what can we teach people? She realized in her life, that's what she loved doing when she was in those rooms with patients, to walk them through their skincare routine, what things they should be doing, what things they shouldn't be doing, and then just kind of spreading the information that people feel. It's been kind of scary, right? If you have acne or you have these skin concerns, you're Googling and then it's just everything's on Google now, right? It's information overload. So we realized, okay, we need to be providing value. And so with that, I kind of tell everybody, even now, like I said, we're getting ready to transition over to selling some stuff online. And it's the same thing, is you provide value first and sell later, right? Because then you build that trust, and then you also build a follower. Which to me is really important on social media. Is, a buy is great, right? Somebody purchases something, you got that buy, you made that money. This is the whole plan, right? This is what we did this for. But then now maybe they're not telling people, maybe now they're not thinking about you a year down the road when this kind of gets old, maybe they forgot. Of course, depending on what you're selling is all varies. But as a whole, providing that value is what's going to keep people sticking around and following even after they bought or before they buy. Right. For Josh's business, we talk about for a little while, but like infographics, right? What can dog owners, sit and maybe never buy a leash from you? And you just got to go, I just have to take that audience, right? When we go and start selling with Victoria, we're going to know not everybody's going to come and buy. Right. But we're going to keep a lot of people that are going to hold on, but with that value, with the followers, there's also money in other ways, right? You can monetize now. You can get paid for posts. There's a lot of things you can do to make the money. But I think a lot of us get too caught up and we got to sell something. And we did too, right? Us hyper focusing to Orlando, Florida, cut off an entire audience, was slowing down the growth, because immediately people just felt, if I'm not buying something from you in Orlando, Florida, you don't want me here, right? You only want people here who are going to spend their money, and then even those people, I don't know, it's a small group, right? So to us, it kind of goes back to loving people, right? I talk to Victoria about this all the time, is that, a way she can love people is teach them how to take better care of their skin, right? Teach them stuff they never knew before. And so I think that's great too. We've reached a lot of people. Victoria has a really subtle Bible verse in her bio that people, every once in a while, somebody will reach out and say, oh, I love that you have that. And it's just like, okay, people are seeing that, right? They're seeing this love and this value we're giving without selling a thing. And then if they reach out to her about anything, she's all ears, always doors open to answer any questions people have, right? And I know that's, that can be specific to certain businesses. I wouldn't tell every business owner, keep your DMs open and answer every dog question, Josh, anybody ever has about deworming. You got to be the guy to go to.
Like,
right?
can you look at this rash real quick? Like, I just wondered if...
Yeah, for real. Yeah, for real. But yeah, so I do think, that has been important for us. And we also just know, like, I don't know, it's easy to chase the bag, right? We've all been there where it's the easiest thing to do, right? And especially when you get that gratification right away. When you get that sell, you just, all right, it's all good now, right? It was hard for us to build what we did now. It took a long time, and it took us taking a step back to go, let's just give some value. Let's just speak game for a while. Let's just help people. And then we'll kind of figure it out when we get there, right? I know not everybody's in that position. We probably could have sold earlier. That's kind of a different story of where she's been with work. But yeah, it's always been kind of our thought process on it.
I got a quick question. Would you say that value is directly connected to information? Because for me, I'm hearing you talking about adding value to people. So for me, I'm hearing you talking about your wife and saying, well, she's teaching people how to take better care of their skin. Is it always just information, or can value be added in other ways?
Yeah, so that's why I think the value could be humor, right? I know that's a big one. That's why, what most people go on TikTok for the most part, is the laugh, right? I know everybody's, the algorithm knows you better than you know yourself. But a big reason why TikTok is so good is you can go on there and just laugh for an hour, right? Very shareable. So I do think there's value in that, right? A lot of YouTubers, looking at like what people are doing on YouTube and going kind of looking at every different space and the biggest YouTubers out. And they're all kind of adding, some people add value in different ways, right? But I think humor is a popular one. A nostalgia is a YouTuber I watched recently who's been doing a lot of stuff on like the rise and fall of Hillary Duff, or Nickelodeon, why this show didn't work out, right? So he's making us 90s kids in the early 2000s feel nostalgic, right? And now his value he's providing that he's monetizing is just nostalgia, is we can watch it and go, I remember Saturday mornings, right? And I watch them sometimes and I'm like, dang, I remember with my brother when, we used to watch, Ed, Ed and Eddie. So I do think there's different ways to give value, right? I do think teaching and information is one of the best ways, though, right? It's kind of one of the easiest that people tend to cling on to the most, especially when you are an expert at what you do, right? Like all of you guys are,
Hey, I feel like Donald was out of that last one. You probably don't know. What
It didn't who?
right.
Nah, bro. Like I know that stuff only in name. Like I don't even remember. I don't know what Ed, and Eddie was. What, a cartoon?
Yeah.
Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
Cartoon, right? Yeah, I barely remember, man.
Yeah, so that was just off the top of the head. I'm
We
sorry.
had the best cartoons, bro. We had the best cartoons.
You can have that. You can have that.
Question.
But yeah, really quickly, Josh, even speaking on that really quickly of value is the value that I get from this podcast, right? I get laughs when I watch the podcast. I know it can make me chuckle. I can learn something. But then I think on the spiritual level is one of my favorite parts about this podcast is wrapping what you guys have as businesses, as husbands, with kids, all back into, your relationship with God, right? I love how everything always ties back in, right? I've let, you guys have made the value you give me, you've made me sad before. You've inspired me. And that's what, you guys give. And you guys give, like I said, it's a little bit of everything because you guys are all completely different people, right? Some people like to jump in with a quick joke, right? I feel like Don always comes in with just some knowledge that just blows my mind. He's like back there quiet and then he says something. I'm like, dang, right? A couple episodes ago, I told Josh when you guys with a lot of the family stuff going on, and he just sat there just hitting you guys with questions, and the whole episode just had me like thinking about like my dad, the relationship with my parents, and looking at my life as me as a dad, right? Inspired me of like, okay, what can I do better, right? Listening to what you guys have gone through and the faith you guys have had gone through it, right? So that's the value you provide is that for me, right? It's a little, I don't know what I'm getting every week, right? Some week it's just been straight like a lot of fun and a lot of laughs, and there's some weeks that like that one where Josh is like, okay, well, how did that tie into that, and how is it going through that? And I'm just sitting there just like listening. Oh man, right? And that's what people want, right? That's what's going to get people to come back is when they feel they walked away and they had fun and they were in the conversation with you, which I felt sometimes like I'm laughing out loud with you guys. And then there's sometimes I feel like I'm crying with you guys, right? Like I'm going through with you and I'm looking at life introspectively like you guys are and going, okay, where am I struggling? Watching you guys, walk through your faith on this really open platform makes me look at my own life and go, oh man, like where am I? Where can I do better? Right?
Wow, that's dope, man. You just said a whole mouthful right there, just in and of that, man. Because it's such a blessing. Like we had been talking about doing a podcast for quite some time. It had been at least a couple of years that we had kind of like just had kind of just spoken the idea, but I know the Lord like really put it on my heart like to really approach this year in a different way, man, of just like really stop letting ideas just float around as ideas and like really put some massive action to them. And so, it's a blessing to hear that people are blessed by what it is that we're doing, just by us getting together and having these conversations, just on the different, many various subjects that we have conversations about. So man, you're like a huge blessing and a testament and a confirmation for why we're doing this, man. So it's an honor and a privilege to be able to have you here and in this capacity.
Yeah, appreciate it. That really means a lot. I said I am just a fan, man. I just been listening. One day Josh was like, we gotta get you on the podcast. I said, I couldn't do the podcast. I think the first thing I told him, I said, you're funny, bro. I could do the podcast.
Hey, on that tip, because you said a lot about different ways that we can provide value. But I talked to you so much, bro, and there's so many like tidbits that you could give. I want to rattle off a few questions.
Mhm.
But one question I want to ask you in regards to value, we said that there's humor, make somebody feel an emotion, but then also you guys teach right on Skin by Victoria, which is the page. For those of you that didn't know, you guys provide value by giving infographics, correct?
Yep.
Can you explain what an infographic is and then share that stat like of your most isn't it your most viral piece of content an
Yeah,
infographic, right?
so yeah, so our biggest one essentially is an infographic. It's a picture of her hand, but yeah, so infographics in general, I'll kind of give. I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to show too much, like it looks bad, but yeah, just like a teachable graphic, right? Somebody can read through. That's really easy to read, really easy to digest. Not really a mouthful. On Instagram, a lot of people do carousels. It's also a really good way to do it, where it says 5 best ways to start a podcast, and number one is buy some microphones. Number two is get a camera, right?
Yeah.
So those are carousels. The reason why they work really well on Instagram a lot of times is it keeps people on that image for a long time, right? Everything's about retention nowadays. You got to hold on people's attention. Our biggest graphic we've done now, which is much simpler than that. It's a picture of my wife's hand with how much product to use, right? So it's something that every consumer has struggled with, right? Of not using too much product. Product is very expensive these days when you want the good stuff. And Victoria got the question all the time. So it was something that we felt kind of natural. I've seen it done before, really back to not high quality, which is, like I said, it's my selling point. I always just say, like, if that was high quality, it would do better, is what I always would say. But yeah, so it's a really basic picture that shows you how much to use, and the caption is real long, kind of dialing into each one of those. That graphic itself is almost at 40,000 likes, which is a lot more than followers that we have. And then the insights itself is what really blows my mind every time, is it actually has 55,000 saves. So more people saved this infographic than even liked it, right? Which is kind of like those really exciting numbers, is when you're on to something, right? Where people are such haters that they won't like it, but they'll save it, right? Or maybe they just don't. I don't know. Maybe they don't use Instagram like that.
Y'all trash.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna shout out every. I'm gonna read. I wish I had the list. I'd read through 55,000 people right now. I cross reference the names. But yeah, so that post itself, it almost reached 2 million people itself. Just that one exclusively. So that's our biggest post to date, which was almost. It wasn't a post that we went, this is gonna be it. Our main things are our Instagram reels. The reels are kind of our bread and butter. Victoria does the videos really well. So that's what we enjoy doing. That's what we put a lot of time and energy into it. That's what we feel is the best way to teach for a lot of people. And of course, video, social media. Every social media platform is now really a video platform as a whole. So this was almost kind of a filler content. We usually call these filler pieces. Is we do a reel pretty much every single day, and usually when we run out of reels, we're like, we got to do something, right? So we usually have a stack of stuff that we have done. This picture was, I took it in about, 20 minutes. It took longer to set up the lighting than to snap the photo. She did everything on Instagram, put the little words right on the Instagram app. So it's all as simple as can be, and turned out to be our top performing post, right? So that kind of comes back down to consistency, right? It pushed us into something where I went, yeah, it's not bad. It's pretty good quality, right? And I did not like it. I cut off the fingers on the top a little bit because Instagram I was really angry about it. I was in my head. I was like, this isn't really it. It's not going to do well. But it came back down to the consistency. But yeah, so what it turns out is really, it's just a different way for people to learn. So I know, of course, video. I'm a video guy. I learn from video really well. That's me as a person. I love reading, but that's not how I, can take information in the best. But some people, it's graphics. And I think we all have to kind of realize that not everybody learns the same way we do. And that's what I got Victoria into, kind of like, hey, let's start doing some graphics out. So if people have a hard time with the videos, if it's too much keeping up or trying to write notes while they watch a video, or they just don't retain information the same, let's give them something that they can save and just look at, right? Something they can screenshot on their phone. And when you go to do your skincare routine, you can hold this picture up of my wife's hand and then know how much to put on.
That post is genius, bro. It's absolutely genius.
That's dope.
Yeah,
That's dope.
it doesn't feel genius because when I was on the floor or I used a piece of poster board, right? I have some good lights, but it took me 15 minutes, right? But I knew, like I said, we've seen it before, something similar. But yeah, just did a little bit more high quality and did it us, right? A lot of times putting a spin on that's you, right? That people will see and they go, that's not what I normally see on Instagram. That's this person, right? You kind of have your brand, right? So I know that people seeing the high quality, the backdrop, kind of the full nine, they would go, okay, if you're in the skin industry, you know, there's nobody doing things like that except for us, right?
So while we're on the topic of like different mediums, especially with social media, and I want to hear your experience. You know, recently Instagram just lengthened their real time to 90 seconds. Obviously, try to keep up with TikTok.
TikTok, yeah.
Have you found a happy length time? Because it happens so often where like 7-second videos are what's hot now. Now it's, oh no, push it to 30. Oh, you have 90 seconds, and it's like, have you found a magic sauce to the length of videos, or has it just been about the type of value that you add to? Because I heard you say before, hey, with a humorous video, you don't need it to be 30 or 90 seconds. But if I need to get more information, yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't found, we always, our whole thing is let's just try to keep them as short as possible, but the information has to always be there, right? So usually Victoria goes in and writes everything out, and then I go and skim it down if necessary. We've had some longer videos that push into the 45 seconds. I've never seen something that went, oh, that was too long. That's why it didn't do well. The main thing with longer videos is you either got to hook people in harder and just hold it over their head the entire time. Like, storytelling videos. If you go on TikTok now, you will see a lot of 90-second videos of people just telling a story, but they jump into the story of like, this is how a skunk jumped off my roof into my car and sprayed my 8 dogs, right? Immediately you're like, okay, why do you have 8 dogs? Why was there a skunk on your roof, right? So then you have to listen to this whole 90-second long story, right?
What kind of car you got that holds 8 dogs?
It's one of the big ones, yeah. But yeah, so I do think that there is there's value in both. So I really just say it depends on what you do. I always just say whatever you're going to do, try to do it in the least amount of time possible, right? Because when you go into it with that mindset, you're going to pack information in for people, right? You don't want to over cram it where you're trying to talk a mile a minute, right? We try to keep Victoria talking at a very comfortable pace, but also don't want to, if she starts rambling, right? When you start going on and on and on, when the intro of your video is, hey, how's it going, everybody? So today I'm going to talk, they've already moved on, right? So those things are going to add seconds to your videos, right? So everything is just trimming these things up, getting to the information, and getting out, right? But like I said, I don't know if there's a magical number. I've heard the sweet spot is still between 7 and 15 seconds, but that's really based off statistics of what normally does best. Like what the best performing posts are. But there's a lot more of those because everyone can post a 7-second long video of a dog tripping somebody. And those just go all the time. Right. So the number seems a little swayed to me to go everyone's crushing to 7 to 15 seconds because a bunch of videos are going viral of short, funny things. So to me, like I said, I'd sit down and try to just slim up whatever you're doing into the unless you're doing a podcast, long form content, is get in there, get out so somebody can move on. You don't want to give them any excuse to hit that scroll, right? You want that retention.
First of all, man, I keep hearing the recurring theme that your niche is high quality, man. So I automatically think of Bobby Boucher with high quality H2O. You know what I'm saying? You the water boy of esthetician content on Instagram, man, with the high quality, man. Can't nobody touch you. But I mean, we could talk all night about this stuff, man. You got like you doing it, man. So it's great to be able to kind of just hear, what you have going on and how you've been able to grow this thing with your wife, and now your son's getting a taste of it and stuff and everything. So that's really dope. Before we close out, what I want you don't have to give the secret sauce. I just want to hear a little bit of your strategy as far as because my understanding is you guys do batch content, right? Like you batch stuff, right? So Can you tell us a little bit about, how you go, but your process of how you do that?
Yeah. So as far as secret sauce, I give everything. I'm always 100%. I'll give you the shirt off my back. Um, there's no secret around here, but yeah. So that's really kind of the best way to do things. It's one of the most overwhelming parts about social media, or really kind of any media as a whole, is going every day. You have to figure out what you're going to do. So yeah, batch content is kind of the best way. We tend to batch content sometimes a couple times a week. We try not to force it and make Victoria write 12 scripts to do everything in one night and just have an overwhelming night. We've done it before, being up till 2 o'clock in the morning shooting, but we tried not to. But yeah, really, it starts with the strategy, right? So coming up with a strategy first, because you don't want to just go, it's time to batch content this week, and sit there and go, okay, what do I do? Right. So sitting down and going, okay, how do I want to reach people this week? What posts are targeting, if we're talking about social media, are targeting my followers to get people to engage with me, that already follow me, and what posts are created to really reach new people. And then if you're selling something, right, what posts am I doing that are really, really salesy? What posts am I doing that maybe lead with information and finish with a sale? And then what information am I just giving just to get, people just to know that I'm not just coming to take, that I'm here to give as well. So yeah, really the batch content is sitting down first and going, what do I need to do, right? How am I going to reach people? What's the strategy? It comes back to strategy. Somebody's asking me the other day, one of the most important parts about social media, and to me nowadays, it's just a strategy, right? Any strategy. If you have a strategy, if you take the time and make a strategy, it's a good strategy, because most people don't. They just make content and they put it out in some way or another, right? So actually sitting down and going, okay, how am I going to reach people? What's working? What's not working? Checking in those insights, and then dialing it in. For us, the Reels is kind of our go-to. It's what we get the most reach off. It's what we can do quickest. If crazy to say, because all the setup and all the editing, but it's what we just have locked in, right? So we usually bust out about 5 to 6 Reels on a night, and then over the next day or so, Victoria sits down and does graphics, and then pictures. We don't do as many anymore. We thought they didn't do well. It's hard to say the pictures don't do well anymore when that's our best performing post, is that kind of a picture. But then normally go, okay, where can we sprinkle some pictures in? For Victoria, we try to keep a balance in between her teaching you, but then also feeling personable, like the brand is her, and not just somebody who you're just going to learn stuff from, but somebody you can start to kind of feel connected with. If it's her as a mom, as a wife, or whatever, kind of her personality, right? If it's silliness, if it's hiking, if it's swimming, whatever it may be, so people can feel like they want to stay, right? So sitting down with that strategy, keeping all those things in mind, our whole brand identity in mind, and then creating content really around that, right? Now, that was kind of a long answer, but yeah, I do think there is kind of a few pieces that kind of come into that batch content, right?
Yeah, man. No, not a long answer at all. Just that, like, that's dope. Because what my takeaway from it is strategy will lead to consistency. It'll
Mm-hmm.
it'll 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 lead to consistency, because, like you said, a lot of times people just hop on. I've even been guilty of it. I'll hop on and I'm like, I just for the sake of hopping on and doing something, as opposed to, I know the difference when I've thought something through and I go with a plan that it turns out completely different. So that's dope, man. Like, just understanding that strategy will lead to consistency, right? Because
Yep.
that's
And
what we
sometimes,
all
yeah.
want. That's what's gonna make the difference.
Yep. And then sometimes making sure that consistency can also, you can start with the consistency if that's where your hardest part is, and then let the strategy come out of the consistency, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Fire.
For
Oh,
for sure, especially in the difficult times. When things get tough, when a kid gets sick, you know what I mean, or when work is long. Strategy helps you stay consistent when things pop up that you weren't expecting. I definitely want to say that there's more game that Chris has to offer. I mean, their strategy is so dialed in amongst to how many videos that they can record in a day, how much time they spend doing it at a night, how many days a week they record their videos, and even what time of day they post their videos. It goes really deep. So even though he said he'd give the shirt off his back, which he would, he can't do it because there's just not enough time in this particular podcast. However, Chris did tell me he said, make sure that you ask John and Don that he would come on as long as we had him back live. You feel me? So we gotta have
Oh
him
yeah,
back.
Without question.
So y'all,
definitely,
Take
no
the
doubt,
muffler.
no doubt,
he's gonna be back live.
no,
He's gonna
Without
drop
question.
him. Stay tuned.
Yeah, well,
Hey,
with
real quick.
I want to let you guys close out, but I just don't want to let this go. But I want to tell you guys, just so we're all here, keep doing what you're doing, because as a fan, I'm a huge fan. And I know with your guys' consistency, everything is going to grow because you have the quality, you have a strategy, you're coming in with things to talk about, stuff to say. I've never really felt that you guys just came on and hanging out in these, which it gets really easy to get on and just start chatting with the boys. And so I do feel like you guys stick to your strategy and your consistency. And as a fan, I'm always going to be happy and I'm going to be tuning in because the minute you disappear, no matter how big of a fan I am, you disappear long enough, you're going to disappear from my brain too, right? So I just want to tell you guys, keep on doing your thing. I'm going to keep on supporting. I know this is going to keep on growing because if I like it, I'm pretty picky too. I'm the first one to give people, all right, I'm out of here. As Josh knows, I'm very blunt. I'm very like, if this sucks, it sucks, right? But yeah, I love what you guys are doing. So just don't change anything, though. Don't get too weird over here because what you guys got going on right now, I'm a freaking fan of, and I love it. And I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy lives to spit some game with my headphones in when I'm on a walk with the little guy. Needed that. I needed
That's the perfect way to end it, man. I ain't got nothing else to say, man. Dude, so full, man. So happy, so glad to have had you on here, man, as a guest. So now that you've been on here as a guest, you family. You feel me? You family. So yeah,
Make
man,
this man
I'm
a shirt.
Yeah, hey, listen. As soon as he said that his son was like, I don't know, maybe model a shirt, I was like, okay, let me think of a shirt so I can get this dude. You said your son's name is Jace, right? What'd you say?
Jace, yeah, Jace, yeah.
Got you already. I got you.
Appreciate you guys.
I'm gonna send you something. I already got you.
Yeah.
Already.
Well, much love. We'll be back. We'll have Chris back live, and as always, tune in every Wednesday for Watch Me Develop.
Bling, bing, bing, bing.
Deuces, y'all. We'll see you next time.
Later.
Yeah.
One.
Later.